So, still addressing the five remembrances. And even though Lee claimed to be a rebel on Monday and veer off course a bit, I think she was less a rebel than she gave herself credit for, because it's really all of these practices are so interconnected and interwoven. And she talked about how brilliant the Buddha was over 2,500 years ago in anticipating modern science's understanding of how the brain functions. And I really appreciated that this is exactly what we're being asked to do in our practice of these five remembrances, of considering that we're getting old, that we can't escape ill health, that we'll all die, that we will have losses of all we love and hold dear, and that we're the heir to the consequences of our actions. What we're being asked to do is exactly this brilliance of the Buddha, and look at what our brain does when we face and turn towards these difficult realities of old age, sickness, death, loss, and consequences, and see them clearly. What happens in our mind when we reflect on and stay with these five existential, inevitable parts of the human condition. The Buddha realized what triggers these inevitables are, for aversion, for turning away, for pushing away, whether through restlessness, dullness, shutting down, disbelief. And he gave us the practice of being with these five difficult realities as a way to respond skillfully. We can perhaps imagine what the Buddha may have experienced when he first left his palace and encountered these five human inevitables, when he saw an old person, a sick person, a dead person, saw losses that people were experiencing and the difficulties and consequences of actions. Even his own action of sneaking out of the palace, the consequence of feeling the pain of this. He may have experienced all the hindrances, but this began his journey. This is how he began to wake up. This coming from the protected environment of the palace, where he didn't get a clear view of reality, where he remained in ignorance. He got the airbrushed version, where there was no suffering, no death, no sickness, no illness, no consequences. People stayed young and beautiful. Everything was perfumed, clean, with pleasant sounds and pleasant experiences. Perhaps he even had a whipping boy, another child who took his punishment, took the consequences for him when he misbehaved. Certainly, this was a distorted view of reality. And when he first left the palace, snuck out and encountered the rest of the world outside and what that was like, just imagine that it was a hot summer day in India with people yelling and fighting and dying and being sick right in the street. There was no indoor plumbing, and so the smells themselves must have been overwhelming. Illness there in the streets, old age, not the beauty and the perfumed reality of the palace. What would we have made of this? How would we have reconciled this view of life with the one we'd grown up with? How could we see this clearly, this reality clearly, holding both the beauty and the perfumed reality as well As Jeff Foster said in the poem I read a couple weeks ago, how do we hold the perfumed reality along with the shit and piss of life? That's our challenge. And it must have been a shock to the Buddha system, such a shock that he left the palace. He renounced that life of pleasure. And he spent the rest of his life learning and helping others learn how to cope with this suffering. And I imagine in one way or another, we've all had such shocks to our system. I think of my experience in caring for my father as he got old and sick and frail and was no longer the strong, invincible protector he had been through most of my life. And my daughter's struggles with depression and anxiety that, as much as I wanted to look away, pushed me to seek a path that would give me the strength to love and hold their pain as well as mine. The one ray of hope the Buddha found when he was confronted by the suffering of the five remembrances was seeing a monk who seemed to be content, to be steady, to be able to cope with all the death and old age and illness without being bowled over by it. He was serene even in the midst of all this pain and suffering. The Buddha saw this and said, how do I get that? How do I get myself there? How do I or anyone, how do we come to peace with being with the world and life as it is? This set the Buddha on a path to discover the monk's secret, practicing even severe ascetic practices that brought him near death. In doing this, however, he realized that only facing the pain and denying our need for comfort isn't sustainable. He saw that we need both, a middle path, both the ability to face the pain of life's inevitables, as well as to provide comfort and kindness to ourselves in this process. He realized that we need to bring mind, heart, and body together to be able to have compassion, kindness, joy, to arrive at the peace and balance of the monk. He gave us the five remembrances as a pointer to this peace. And as Lee pointed out, this is what modern science tells us. We need to experience some reward in order to continue doing something. This is why we've cultivated and made much, as Susan says, of the experiences of joy, noticing joy, contentment, ease, settledness, and all the other pleasant moments of the practice. Stop and make much of those. We need those. And as Bill says, why would I come back to the practice if it was only about suffering and effort without reward? If it didn't feel good, or at least a bit more easeful, I wouldn't do it. And this is what the Buddha said he taught. I teach only suffering and the end of suffering. The five remembrances in this context teach about the inevitable suffering of being human, of impermanence, of karma, but they also point us to the end of suffering. They point to the freedom, the letting go, the release of clinging to what doesn't last, and the clinging to wanting this life to be other than what it is in this moment. This pointing points us to cultivating the joy of the contentment with life as it is, and reminds us to savor this precious moment as we embrace and befriend the inevitability of its impermanence, of getting older, of getting sick, of having losses and experiencing the results of our actions. Just as with the Buddha, seeing clearly the pain of life leads directly to the intention to wake up and find liberation. And to conclude, I'd like to read some excerpts from a poem by Rumi. The poem is called A Great Wagon. And here are just some of the lines. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. So let's practice staying awake and not going back to sleep. Let's do this. We can do this. All right. And begin connecting, inviting our mind, heart, and body to come together, to notice what's going on in here. Checking in with the body, what could bring a bit more ease to stabilize us, to steady us. Beginning this practice with softening, loosening any way that works for the body. Any gentle stretches or twists, shaking it loose, feeling relief and release of any knottedness, gripping, tightnesses, aches and pains still there, but with a bit of comfort added, a bit of ease offered. And checking in on energy. Where is it? Too high, too low? Bringing in a bit of lightness and freshness. Or beginning to let the energy calm down and settle just a bit more. Orienting towards caring attention. Perhaps focusing on the breath or sound or feelings in the body as an anchor for the mind to come in for a landing on. In its own time and with all the space it needs. Mind and heart coming together in the preciousness of this moment. Savoring whatever sweetness and tenderness can be generated for this moment just as it is. And perhaps if the heart mind has wandered off or dozed off, noticing and kindly waking up again to this wonderful moment, this precious moment. And in the remaining few minutes of this practice, if it fits for you, opening up a space to sprinkle in some gratitude for you sitting here with us and us sitting here with you, creating this space of goodwill and comfort. For your kind attention, let me do the unmuting so we can say our farewells, goodbyes, well wishes to each other. Okay, you should have
You.
a
Thank
meeting.
you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Be well, everyone.
Bye, guys. See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Thank
Thank you, Sangha.
Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow. Take
See you
good
tomorrow,
care.
everybody.
Wonderful teaching.
Take good care. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Metta.